So something I think that we don't talk about as resellers is do you like my blue wig? Is if we should sell cultural appropriation or cultural materials that are racist. For example, Skookum dolls, which can be worth hundreds of dollars. Sambo items, Sambo books are worth a good amount. And this is an example of what I'm talking about. Just hang in there, bear with me. So we have, now again, I have a couple honey spots I source from, honey holes, whatever, beehives. And I happen to come across these same books all in the same, I'm trying to show off my earrings, all in the same trip, right? So we have Mulberry Street, McGillicuddy. They had a lot of the library edition Dr. Seuss books that are banned and ones that aren't banned. I do pick up vintage children's books regularly because I love vintage kids books, and I'll tell you why. Now, a lot of the appeal of vintage kids books is entertaining because we like to feel like children. It can be relaxing, good for our mental health to read children's books or to hear children's books read aloud, right? It can be part of self-care, and that is part of the reason I read them. But the main reason children's books are important is it gives you a snapshot of that area, particularly vintage children's books before the 1960s, 70s, I would say, of the era. Not just what was popular reading, but the message was to children, because for a very long time, books were published with a moral of the story, or they did not have any authors that were not YT, right? Until after civil rights passed. And generally speaking, right? So there weren't a lot of women either. So why are these banned or not reprinted? What's so terrible about them? So on here, let me do this one in particular right first. So this one in particular has a fish portrayed as Eskimos. We know they're not called Eskimos, they're Inuit, and they're a culture and they're still living. Some Eskimo fish, but beyond Hudson Bay, might decide to swim down, might be headed this way. So that is disturbing. It's the same reason that we call Mount Denali, right? So it's easier. I'm using Native American history because it's easier to see it. It's more obvious than other things in the book. So we have this one, which has Eastern Indian stereotypes. And Mulberry Street. Now, when has also stereotypes. There's that one. And I think that the other thing you notice is what? It's a very black and white skin tone. So this one I don't like, and I don't think this is why it's banned, because it's basically about taking eggs from birds that live in the wild, which one is against the law, and two, that's not nice, right? That's not nice to take. I never read this to my children. Poor mama birds. There's characters that are not nice. A nice representation of people. As I was doing this research, was that Dr. Seuss was, he was a wartime propaganda guy for World War II. And he did a lot of anti-Black and anti German imagery with racist caricatures of Japanese people, and that carried over into his books. And while he apologized for it later, and these aren't worth a lot of money, but they do sell. And I was like, I'm not going to sell them. Okay, my second point is, so we see the example I was using for, let's go back to my example, Eskimo fish, not Eskimos, Inuits, and then I see this one, and I see this one. It's up just because. A lot of times I will pick up books that I know are going to be inappropriate for people, and I will just trash them. Like, I will just buy them and trash them. Because it's typically people that are my skin tone, right? Writing about natives, pretending they know a thing or two, and they don't. So for one, this Indian language book, it does sell on eBay. It does sell on eBay. Please don't sell it on eBay. Let's show you an example. This was originally published in 1929. People are still using this. They're buying the book because for some reason, we white people have this weird romantic fascination with Native Americans, aka American Indians, even though they're here and they live in every community in America. This is not real. This is not authentic. It is somebody profiting off of the oppression of the Native American people, especially back in 1929. And it still carries over today. So you have, right? You have this, and then you have the image from this, and then you will have something like this, the Kiowa. And this is very racist also. Again, it's the noble savage. It also talks about a woman he loves his Mexican women, and that suggests her primary role is to be a source of inspiration, admiration, rather than an actual person. Exotic, submissive woman, exaggerated captives. So this is just really, right, the romantic noble savage. The problem is people still, now if we were aware enough to know these are stereotypes, so they have nothing to do with reality, it would be different. But I know people who still, you see it online everywhere, think this way. And that is why it's important not to read books like this to kids. The other thing is, bear with me, it's a long video. This is a thing. Children learn from environmental print before they learn to read. Our brain as kids is like a rose bush, and whatever we don't use, the brain prunes, right? So it's not that, if you've ever heard that saying, values are caught, not taught. That is how the child's brain works, right? We all know kids are like sponges, right? We know that. The reason it's important is not for us. It is for children. The reason it's important, it's for our younger people. It's not for us. We're already desensitized to the name thing. We think, what's the big deal if there's a Native woman on our butter? Well, that's because that comes from, years and years and generations of the SQAUW word, which you would never use. We get desensitized to it. It's for our children. Names are important. It's the first way we learn to read. McDonald's, things we see around us. It's important. It affects our brain. It affects the way we think of people. If you understand how the brain works, and now we've got all these great brain scans, if you understand that, it's not for us. I know people say that it's 2024. It doesn't matter. Oh, it's 2025. It does matter. It does. I was raised in a very racist family. It's only because I'm a weirdo and I care about nature more than people, and I was weird, probably, that I'm not that way. It matters. It matters, right? So just from a reselling point of view, I'll throw all these away. If they were worth a good deal of money that was worth giving to a native friend or a black reseller friend or an Eastern Indian reseller friend or a Japanese reseller friend or an Asian reseller friend or anyone, I would, because I'm not going to profit. And this is the one thing. It's the small things that we do that matter. Life is full of small moments. I'm never going to be able to go somewhere and make a massive difference in my community. It's the little things. If we all do the little things, we can get rid of things. Yes, we need to keep certain things for historical value, but there is enough of this stuff around. There's enough copies of these. We don't need it. It's already on record. We don't need it to show, hey, this is an historical record. Stayed to watch this. Thank you. I just need to get it out there and hoping it shows someone, even just one person. While words are so important, names are so important, images are so important. The average American reads at a fifth grade, reads and comprehends at fifth grade level. It's important. Hopefully this makes sense. Thank you for watching. Stay sane.